Let's get some more on this because William Beer is General Manager of the Americas for the cybersecurity firm Mitiga and joins us from New York now. William, thanks very much for joining us. I mean, it does sound, even from what Twitter are telling us, as a pretty straightforward hack.
Well, straightforward is to be determined. I actually think this is probably something a little more complicated than that. As Twitter said themselves, it would appear to have been based on social engineering. So they were targeting Twitter employees and using the relationship, trying to dupe them into providing them with information, which would have allowed them to access some of Twitter's internal systems. So it's probably not as straightforward as it might appear on the surface.
OK, fair enough. And we don't know all the detail yet, but one thing we do know is they're also looking into further possible malicious activity. Should we assume that, we haven't heard the last of this?
Well, I think that's very fair. I mean, the question in the back of my mind is, yes, there were a series of high-profile accounts that were used as part of the scam. But what about other accounts? What about my account? Was it potentially violated? And will the hackers potentially have put other pieces of code on the system? And are they lurking in the systems to use it further down the line? That's a question that needs to be answered.
And in terms of this scam, the cryptocurrency scam of give us 1,000, we'll give you 2,000 back sort of thing. I mean, some money has been paid out, apparently. Can that be returned, or is that a lost cause?
That's a lost cause. And I think the combination of social media, so in this case Twitter, and cryptocurrency really makes for the perfect storm for the organized criminals. Those are two very powerful forces, if you will, when combined together, really allow them to do significant damage.
Yeah, we've heard Jack Dorsey saying basically he's clearly very upset by this, disappointed. It's going to affect the brand. I mean, one wonders to what extent this is reputational damage or how far it might go, or whether, I mean, let's be honest, anyone who's anyone seems to have been hacked these days.
True, but I think, unfortunately, we've got to a point in the industry where a lot of this is falling on deaf ears. A lot of the general public, I think, has become quite numb to these types of attacks. And I think, to a certain degree, that reflects poorly on the security industry. And it should call out for more change, whether that be regulation or potentially even recognizing that social media organizations might and should potentially be considered part of critical national infrastructure, like telecommunication companies. Right now, a lot of them are not necessarily adopting the right level of governance, the right level of rigor around some of the systems that you need when you consider the amount of critical information and sensitive information that's used on these platforms.
I suppose what would really hurt would be the likes of Bill Gates or Kim Kardashian, whoever it might be, saying, you know what, I'm not going to use Twitter anymore.
I think there's a risk there. I think already there's been a bit of a backlash over the last couple of months. And I think that, yes, high-profile celebrities are very concerned, not just about confidentiality and the availability of the system, but about the integrity of the information. And that's something, again, that I think the industry needs to focus more on. Is what I've put out there my words? And is that information, guaranteed, or is it secure? That's something that the industry needs to reflect on in more depth.
Yeah, it raises questions of trust on both sides, doesn't it, whether you're tweeting or following. William, thanks very much for your analysis. William Beer.